Has anyone else either got any questions or just want to share their impressions?
I would share my limited experience with Armenians in the Middle East. Once I interviewed an Armenian family from Iraq while I was working for UNHCR, and I asked them, do you want resettlement? And they said, yes, we want to be resettled, but we want to be resettled to an Arab country. I told them, I'm sorry, there is no Arab country open resettlement for any refugees. I asked myself and asked them, why do you want Arab country? Because they said that we were received by open hands by Arabs when we fled the genocide in Turkey, basically in the neighboring countries.
Yeah.
So then they were resettled to European countries. I felt that they don't want to experience the exile again. Because they are part of this society, of the Arab society. Although they kept their identity, which is legitimate, but they integrated to significant extent with the Arab community.
Completely agree.
Yeah, when my grandmother, she was 13 like that woman, when they had fled through the snow, she said we had to run with it, whatever we could, we couldn't carry anything, we just took off, and they had to just run with, and all the family and friends or whatever, that group, they just kept running and running and running, and some Turkish doctor found them and hid them, and then pushed them through to Syria, Lebanon, and then they ended up in Jerusalem, where there was an Armenian community in Jerusalem already, some pilgrim community, the old Armenian community, and they took them in. But you're right, because even in Jerusalem, it's the Arabs that were helping. There's some sort of a compassion there, and a harmony that naturally exists. I don't know if it's past experiences of both cultures. I don't know, but the same happened. Like some of them stopped in Lebanon, but my grandmother was taken to Jerusalem as an orphan and then married off to an Armenian man at 13, and just to protect them because they couldn't be orphan girls on their own. And that's how the men just kept them for a while, and then had, went on, and as they grew up, then they had relations and so on, and then had children and so on and so on. But that's the only way that the orphans survived, apparently. They had to be protected, otherwise, things could have happened.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Any others?
I just want to add, if you let me do so, please. What it is, we just talking about individuals. We just watched the movies about individuals, about just two people. But what I want to do is to bring the Armenian genocide to the global scope. Why? Because we actually missed, it was a couple of seconds episode in Nares film. It says, it was like typed, written, who after all of this speaks about inhalitations of Armenians. So that is Adolf Hitler's words during his meeting with his top Nazi militaries. After saying these words, he ordered Holocaust and German forces entered Poland. So what it says that because the Armenian massacre happened, Armenian genocide happened way before Adolf Hitler came to power, and it wasn't recognized, it wasn't justified, it wasn't punished. It means Adolf Hitler himself thought that, okay, if Turkish can do it to Armenians, I can do it to Jewish. So this is, nowadays, we Armenians, we have a slogan, we remember and demand. Yes, of course, we remember what happened to our ancestors. At the same time, we demand justice. We demand this recognition. Because Armenian genocide was the first genocide in a modern history, in the 20th century. So if that was recognized at that time, Hitler's Holocaust would be prevented. Rwanda would be prevented. We have recently we had Bosnia-Herzegovina would be prevented. Many other genocides would be prevented. if ours was recognized like it's supposed to be. So this is why I think this is nowadays, we shouldn't look at Armenian, every single Armenian, myself, Dr. Kessedjian, every single person who is in this area, who is now here watching us and talking to us, every single one has history related to the genocide. But we don't have to look at the individuals, so we have to look on global scale. So this is, I think, this is why we are demanding, as Armenians, we are demanding recognition of that historical event, and we're demanding justice. So this is what I think we're supposed to do.
Good point, good point.
Yeah, it's important, like you said, to see the global side of it, because what people often see Armenian genocide as an isolated event, it's not. It was part of World War I. It happened, lots of people are quite shocked when they realize it happened at the same time as Gallipoli landings.
Yeah.
And it was under cover of that the Ottoman Empire felt like what an amazing opportunity to exterminate a nation. And if you look at the stories on the exhibition board, most of the Armenians who are here as a result of genocide as refugees, or in end of 19th century there was another wave before genocide, which Hamidian massacres, and then we had the first wave of the community here in Manchester as a result of Hamidian massacres. Lots of Ayvazyan's poetry, the poem you mentioned, was affected by that. There were reflections of Armenian massacres, which very sadly became a prophecy of his own death during the genocide.
I'd like to just, if I may, just ask about Taniel in terms of, I mean, the cinematography is exquisite, would people agree? It really, really does amazing justice to the poetry. And how did you come about choosing something? Because you were involved with that. In terms of some of the imagery is so kind of striking.
Well, cinematography credit has to go to Garo, who is, I'll make sure I'll pass it on. He's an amazing director. Don't tell him I said that. But he's great. I had the absolute pleasure, privilege to work on the poetry. It was very hard work. I love Ayvazyan. I love his work. It was very pleasant, but very hard work to squeeze it all into 20 minutes because he died when he was 31. He left us 4 books of poetry, a lot. In 31 years he's done more than most of us have done in much more. So we picked poems which represent different sides of him, patriotic poetry, very sensual poetry. He wrote very sensual, erotic, almost erotic poetry, very brave for beginning of the century. I was blushing when I was reading it. Some of it was branded pornographic, but some of it was published. He had pagan songs. He wrote about Armenia. He wrote about everyone. So it was. We tried hard to show different sides of him, but often we end up our screening having a little poetry reading afterwards as well, which we had in Istanbul. I was telling you, it was nice,
Okay. Anybody else? Isabella?
I've got 2 questions. One is a direct follow-up question. So, do any of these 4 volumes of works exist translated in any European language, or do we have to know Western Armenian? And I guess the other one, Marwan, I guess we should all read your book. But I was wondering if you could give us a beginner's guide to peace, resistance, reconciliation strategy. Okay. So 2 questions, I guess.
There are some translations. Some of the translations actually we've heard were done 100 years ago by a wonderful American lady called Alice Stone Blackwell. As a feminist, an amazing woman who just got the word-for-word translations from another English lady you can read about. She's over there, Isabel Boyajian. And Isabel would send it to her to America, and Alice would put it in wonderful poetic form. There are some French translations as well, but it's got only one poem is going to be published soon, and I'm pleased to tell everyone in September, because I bored everyone to death talking about Warwick, including National Poetry Library in London, which is the biggest poetry library in the world. They are running a project about poetry in endangered languages, and I sent some Warwick poems to them. So in September, an anthology is going to come out with 50 poems, and one of them will be Warwick's. I'm really, really pleased about it. So we'll have his works published in London.
Oh, that's great. To
Yeah.
answer your question.
I'll send you some links
Part
if
A.
you almost read, yeah.
Thank you. Part B.
Just a word. I think, well, I mean, we witness, we see oppression, imbalance of power in relation between groups, and and sometimes violence and genocide and etc. That it's, but then, usually we don't recognize the messages of the resilience of people, even in the worst situation. So I think that's one thing. It's inspiring for see human beings. They will not give up in any situation. That's. And the other thing is what to do after that. I mean, one of the questions that really bugged me through the second film particularly is, what is it that prevents us from want to reconcile, or want to forgive, or want to recognize, or want to acknowledge? What is it so threatening that we as a human beings, I mean, all these interviews made, and I think it's...
Well, isn't it the Turkish government in this case?
Yeah.
I mean,
It is.
really,
yeah.
it comes from the top.
Yes.
I'm sure that the Turkish people would be...
Yes, but I know the in terms of the state, and I am also talking as a human being. I agree with you. That's the bigger picture of why we, the education, all that. I could name it all to you, but there is something in us as human beings forget. In why in our daily life it's so hard to forgive, to say, okay, to the driver who got angry. Why don't we say, oh, don't worry, it's okay. Why am I making such a angry about it and this, etc.
Disagree with you, because to forget you have to apologize
I didn't
first.
say to forget.
Or if to forgive, you accept it, sorry, all right, that's fine. So it's on human levels. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But everybody makes mistakes, everybody wants forgiveness, etc. But for that, you have to apologize.
Yes. Maybe that's
So,
one thing. Maybe that is one thing.
Yeah.
You need to apologize, to need to recognize. It's reminded me of a quote from Desmond Tutu. He described it that, I can't remember word by word, but he say, about the reconciliation, that it's like a sting, and he pulled it because he didn't want to poison himself.
Wow. Yeah.
It's, in terms of the metaphor, in a way, it was, I don't know if I can do it. I'm not saying I can do it, but I was like, it suddenly shocked me that he described his experience like, by want to forgive, is like pulling that sting of poison from his body. In a way, he's liberating himself from the poison. I'll leave it here.
I'm going to just, if I may, Patricia Earle we have with us, who has done some amazing work with her husband. Just to put you on the spot slightly, David, if he's still around. Her name has come through to me from various sources in terms of some really fantastic work which has been going on for many, many years, bringing communities together. And I don't know if you'd like to just say a couple of words about that. Even my mum has been part of your Peace Sisters groups, yes, definitely. You didn't even know that till now. But could you share just a couple of words? Because I think it follows on.
I'm just very grateful to be here and to be able to look at this film. I didn't know so much about the situation of Armenia. I have a very good friend in London, and she does similar work for another organization, sister organization in London. And one day she was telling me they had an event about to recognize Holocaust in different places, especially in Armenia. And it went on the website, and Turkey, the Turkish government, threat the UPF, the organization, to take their child status if they didn't take it out of the website. So in the end, they had to take it out. It was really, really bad because she's Armenian herself.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I was really interested. They were very moved by the film. And I think to go back to the point of reconciliation and forgiveness, like what Desmond Tutu was talking about, I think to be able to forgive, you need to be able to hear your heart. And for that, like in South Africa, they have this Center of Truth and Reconciliation, where people can go there and express their pain and their suffering. And somebody is there to acknowledge it, you know, and to ask for forgiveness. But if you don't have that possibility, that's why sometimes to be able to be recognized, it's a kind of healing, I think. And then it is a step to be able to forgive. A lot of my work, in fact, is just really this aspect of forgiveness. You know, we've been doing a lot of work in the Holy Land. We went there to try to bring reconciliation. But I realized unless there's this possibility, you know, the side which has been hard to be able to express, and to be able, sometimes it's difficult because you're afraid to be hurt again, you know. But somewhere there is a way or a safe place where you can express that. Then there's a way, I think, to be able to go to the path of forgiveness. But it doesn't come like that rationally.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you. We've got a couple of things to do just before we wind things up. And Isabella, I wonder if you could just bring something that we have for Tato, who's really, really gone out of her way, coming to Birmingham after being in Istanbul. So we're really, really grateful. And then I have something for a couple, again, just for our panel guests. So in typical Armenian, we have someone explain the symbolism of the pomegranate.
Pomegranate.
Yes, I can. Don't you know?
You get
Yes,
one.
I would love one. Yes.
Don't you know?
That is fantastic.
This is lovely. Come out more often. No,
Okay, so if you
What it is, pomegranate is one of the Armenian national fruits, I would say. It put together with apricot. But what it is nowadays, Armenian Church, just at the very beginning of each year, let's say first liturgy, the 1st of January every single year, in addition to blessing of water, they do blessing of pomegranate as well. Why? Because there are 365 seeds in it.
Are you
So
sure?
they bless every single day of your year. And the blessed pomegranate means bless every single day of the year. Obviously you will get it, and then you come back on next year, 1st of January for your next month. So every single day. Every single year.
let's bless all of them.
Yes, bless everybody.
This is how it is. So that's about symbolism of
Great.
and thanks
Thank
again
you.
so much, Bella, for kind of inviting us and hosting this event. We really, really do appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much for coming.
Thank
Yeah, this is